Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Renison Jeffrey. This is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live on the Workers' Rights Network. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important that we have this stream here today as to combat some of the false narrative that is in existence on social media. You see, a video was sent to me, and I take personal feeling against it, because it would have forced me, because some of the people that is on this platform, they would have forced me to say, reach out to Oral Sanders and have this message clarified here on this platform. You see, there was a particular video that was sent out by Felisha Thomas, and I believe, in my understanding, a matter of fact, that what is going on behind the line is what we call the halo effect. Because to be quite frank and clear with many of you that are outside it, the young lady is not no ugly girl. And that is to state exactly and explicitly what is the halo effect. Let me load down this music. The halo effect is a cognitive bias where we assume because of someone has one positive trait, they also must have another and plenty other positive trait that goes along with it. Before we bring on the guests on the platform, here we are, Oral Sanders here, as to clarify what would have taken place. But we are going to play this video just for you to see and to get a clear understanding as to what we are talking about. So, this is the video here.
Do you know that PSA United Sentinel and the United Public Officers have supported the government's position to keep workers in poverty by advocating the acceptance of the 4% wage increase offer? Do you know that the PSA United Sentinel and the United Public Officers want to get rid of Wasa, Board of Inland Revenue, and Customs and Excise workers? Nixon Kalinda and Oral Sanders are disqualified from being considered as trade unionists. They have shown that their focus is to undermine workers. Their agendas are not for the PSA nor for workers. Workers have a right to strong representation. Team Sacrosanct is committed to protecting and preserving the sacred rights of workers. You deserve job security, fair treatment, a decent wage, a safe and healthy work environment. On March 10th, vote Felisha Thomas and Team Sacrosanct.
Right, so we are Oral Sanders here. Oral Sanders, introduce yourself, because at the end of the day, in this whole mile here, Felisha would have come out and say that you and your whole team would have been accepting this 4% that this government is about to give the people and them. This is the issue that people is frightened about, that they need clarity on at this moment. What are you to say about this?
Well, first and foremost, let me say a pleasant good night to you, comrade, and it is indeed an honor. This is actually my first time on your platform, and therefore I am deeply honored. And I'm here as a member of the United Public Officers. I am the team leader. I am also a PSA member, and I've been a member of the PSA for over 25 years. Active PSA member, that is. I would have started many years ago just as an ordinary member, but when I spoke, I quickly became a PSA activist, and then I would have won the elections at the St. Anne's Hospital section, becoming the chairman of the section. I quickly moved on to being a PSA activist. I was the best recruiter. I moved into being the first youth arm chairman of the PSA in many years. I would have served on all the various committees. I would have received the top awards for best activist, best section, and top recruiter. I then was promoted in the PSA to the position of grievance officer. I would have served diligently throughout the years, and then persons would have recalled that I would have won in 2009 with Watson Duke as the General Secretary, cupping the most votes during that election. So when I come to you, comrade, I am coming to you on your platform with a wealth of experience, a wealth of knowledge, and certainly I can say without the shadow of a doubt that that erroneous video that was perpetrated by the current executive, it was just geared to scare Wasa workers, to scare persons who are opposed to the 4% offer as proposed by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. But to understand this even in greater detail, let me just give you a little backdrop, comrade. For many years, no one in the General Council or the conference of delegates in the PSA would have been able to meet in person. In other words, we have been functioning, although there is no epidemic, there is no pandemic called COVID-19, we continue to function on a virtual platform that Ms. Felisha Thomas and her executive are the administrators of that platform. No one was speaking to the members. And that is one of the number one grievances of all public officers throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. They are accusing the current executive of poor visibility, poor representation, and simply seeking their own self-interest at the expense of public officers. So what I did as the General Council representative for my comrades at St. Anne's Hospital was to host a meeting to find out from our colleagues and our comrades exactly what was their position in terms of the government. Because, comrade, let me just state for the record, I, Oral A. Saunders, leader of the United Public Officers team, I am not in favor of the 4% offer. I have said this ad nauseum, repeatedly. I am not in favor of it. But look at the situation, comrade. Initially, I too sided with the current administration to say no to the 4% because we were not standing alone as the PSA. We were standing together as all trade unionists with all the unions. But what eventually and started happening, comrade, is that many of those other unions simply started to sign off on the 4%. And what it actually did was to weaken the PSA's position. Because when you see police pulling out, prisons pulling out, fire pulling out, amalgamated workers pulling out, and the list goes on and on and on. When you see all these unions started pulling out, it weakened our position. And what I simply sought to do is to tell the president and the executive that this is a situation that is very fluid and our position has been compromised, seeing that all the unions that were standing with us have decided, or did decide, I should say, and that was their right, their choice. They chose to accept the 4%. So what I did, as I was saying a while ago, is to meet with my section at St. Anne's Hospital, and we discussed the matter extensively. And the bottom line is that my section said it is better that we have a bird in the hand, which is worth two in the bushes. So the St. Anne's Hospital section, they said they would have accepted the 4%. And what I simply started to do, because the executive was not coming back to speak to members, I placed that on social media. And in doing that, persons interpreted that position as being oral position. I would have also led a march outside of the PSA back in 2023 against this executive. And the reason why I led the executive were refusing to allow members to simply have their say on this matter. Comrade, the United Public Officers position is a very simple one. This 4% offer is a very divisive offer. There are members that we would have met who are in favor of it, and there are many members who are not in favor of it. So what we have decided to do is, upon winning the elections tomorrow, we are going, within 7 days of the election results being announced, we are going to go immediately into a national referendum for every single PSA member to have their say on this matter. And we will simply report to the members in real time as persons are voting, and we will simply go with the majority position. Isn't that fair? Isn't that what persons are paying their dues for, to have a say, as opposed to a few people sitting on Abercrombie Street calling themselves the PSA executive, and they making a determination on what they think the rest of the membership wants. Now, what they have articulated is the Wasa's position. Now, Wasa's position, that section indicated that they are saying no to the 4%. And I humbly respect them. But, comrade, let truth be told, Wasa's negotiations are not currently before, or is not being engaged at present. The people who are actually having a say in this 4% debacle, the persons who are most affected by this 4% debacle, are indeed public officers. WASA is the only section within the PSA that actually negotiates for themselves. So whatever position the WASA workers adopt is what the executive, based on our constitution, we must follow. So I do not want my WASA comrades to be fooled and misled by whether it is Leroy Batiste, Felisha, or the rest of their team lying and scaring persons that Oral is the 4% man. Oral is the democracy man. Oral is the man who is going to return democracy with my United Public Officers team to each and every member. And comrade, that is our position.
Now, a question was posted in the chat, is that what other members is saying is that, do you have anybody from Wasa on your slate? Though, I mean,
very good question. Excellent question. That is one of the number one concerns that the incumbents are trying to push with their fear, FEAR agenda. They're scared, and that is their objective of trying to scare the Wasa workers. The truth be told, comrade, is that I would have bent over backwards trying to get another person from Wasa, because in 2017, I had as my first, in 2020, sorry, the previous election, my second vice presidential candidate was a comrade from Wasa by the name of Felisha Thomas. This time around, he was unable to come forward. We would have tried repeatedly to ask persons to come on board from Wasa, but this is something that people need to understand. I just mentioned it a while ago, and let me just repeat. The Wasa section under the Public Services Association's constitution is the only section that the chairperson and others are allowed full time off to do union duties. Let me repeat that. They are almost like executive officers. Their Wasa section is the only section under the constitution of the PSA in their collective agreement that the chairperson is allowed, and a few other officers are allowed to work full time. So whatever is that person's substantive post, in this case, let's say, for example, the current chairman, who's my cousin, Mark Saunders, whatever position Mark holds in Wasa, his salary is running for that position while he functions as the PSA chairperson. And he's on full time off to only do union duties. So getting back to the question that the person would have asked, Oral, why didn't you have a Wasa person? It is not because I didn't try. I tried. But because of the long arms of Leroy Batiste and his influence over senior officials in Wasa, the environment becomes very, very difficult for anyone who chooses to publicly stand up against them. In fact, the reason why I would have made separate videos for Wasa workers is because Wasa workers have continued to cry out to me, indicating, Oral, I was bypassed for my promotion because the chairperson and the section at PSA refused to give me the go ahead. You see, you have to understand something. Nothing in Wasa moves without the PSA's consent. And therefore, they would have been instrumental in many persons being appointed into senior positions. And those persons are beholden to the current incumbents. And because of that, anyone who dares, anyone who dares to speak out against them are ostracized.
So,
In addition to that,
so comrade,
there was
were you saying? We're saying, comrade, that there's a mafia system that is taking place within Wasa.
yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
yes. And I will even go so far to say, comrade, and I know you wouldn't believe this, but workers in Wasa are more fearful of the PSA's executive committee than they are of management. Can you believe that?
So much power the executive have over the
Yes.
workers in Wasa.
Yes, comrade, that is exactly the tentacles of the incumbents are so long and so far in Wasa that persons are virtually scared. But nonetheless, I can say to you and the national community that my personal advisor is a worker from Wasa,
Okay.
but he was just unwilling to go up in front of them because he understands what they give. I also have a team of persons from Wasa working with the United Public Officers, and that is the reason we have been able to speak directly to the members of Wasa, understanding their plight, knowing that many of them they would have suffered under the current administration of the PSA Wasa section by being bypassed for permanent appointments. In other words, they are persons who would have entered Wasa with much less years of service, and they, through the very said PSA, were appointed into a permanent position at the expense of others who are still temporarily employed in Wasa. They are not permanent because they were bypassed not by management alone, but management working in conjunction with the PSA section. Hence the reason why the PSA section has been able to truly fight the management for those persons who were left out of the appointment exercise because they were involved in it. And this is one of the reasons why we have said quite categorically, and I want to make it lucidly clear, that once there is a Oral Saunders led PSA, my mission, my only mission in Wasa is to simply make sure that an audit is done in human resources department, in the human resources department. And I want to equalize that travesty that would have taken place against very hard-working and deserving Wasa workers who were bypassed for promotions and who were also bypassed for their appointments. It is very sad. It is very unfortunate that our own union would have demonstrated and exercised favoritism, nepotism, and all the isms that you could think of when you know for a fact that the very salaries that are being paid to these PSA executive officers are being paid by our members. So persons are actually
Oral, oral,
imagine.
oral, slow down a little bit. Because they would have said two things just now. I want to connect the dots here. Because the first thing they would have said is Wasa is the only administration that they get full-time payment from Wasa itself and full-time payments from from the union itself. So
No,
all of
no,
this.
no, 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 no. That's not what I said, comrade. No, that's not what I said. Listen,
Uh-huh,
the persons who are elected in the Wasa PSA section, the chairman and I think the secretary, if I'm not mistaken, they are
uh-huh,
on full time off from their substantive post. Let's say that person was a manager, like for example, the current president who was an employee at Wasa, he was an
mm-hmm,
HR manager. While being the chairman of the PSA section, he would have been receiving the salary of a manager of Wasa, but doing the duties of a chairman of the PSA section. That and Wasa is the only section in the PSA that has such a facility. So really and truly, Wasa and the PSA section really does their own negotiations. So
okay.
whenever the time comes for negotiating for Wasa workers, the president myself, I do not need to go into Wasa because the section
Mm-hmm,
are the persons who are going to do the negotiations. Now, if it is Mark and they call me and say, Oral, we need an opinion, a legal opinion, or we need a financial advisor to come and, or an economist to come and give a position to us.
mm-hmm.
As the president, I will facilitate them because this is in keeping with good industrial relations practices. And of course, I would want what is in the best interest of Wasa workers. Because if Wasa workers could actually get 50% salary increase, I am happy for them and I will support them. I will sign off on it as the president. But they do their own negotiations. While the rest of the PSA's executive is engaged in the negotiations for the rest of the civil service and the statutory authorities.
You know, judging from the information, well, I grasp what you say, but judging from the information that you would have just said, that now the person who running opposing to you, Team Sacrosanct. Now, is it that some of the support that Team Sacrosanct is getting could be because of out of fear of losing some positions or promotion or some formatting? Because you would have stated that the PSA members and them, the workers are more fear for them than actual management. Are you saying that some
Correct.
of their support, is out of fear?
Most of their support, comrade. In fact, I would even go so far to tell you that their campaign, if it is even look the same example that you used in terms of the video that was put out there by that team,
Mm-hmm.
everything they are saying is to scare and frighten Wasa workers, All your Oral go do this, Oral go do that, Oral go do the other. When the truth and fact is that Oral as the president does not do the negotiations of the Wasa workers. The Wasa workers and their section who they elect, they are the ones who conduct their negotiations. All the job is for me as the president, once it is God is to bless me and place my team there as the executive. We are to come in and to give support. The only time that there will be a problem is if it is what they are doing. Like, for example, you see that appointment exercise that
Mm-hmm.
marginalize so many legitimate WASA workers. I can step in because that is not in keeping with good industrial relations practices and it is dealing with unfairness. And that is where I will step in. But as soon as we deal with that audit of the human resources of WASA, I step out and allow those persons to do their job. Because I'll tell you something, comrade. People has make this post of president to be much more than it really is. The post of president, if somebody really understands this post, is really a post for work. You are
Mm-hmm.
really the chief servant of the people. Your job is to listen to the people. Of course, I may have an opinion, but at the end of the day, if the strength of my arguments, in my opinion, cannot sway or move persons in my direction, then I have to stand down and allow their position to prevail because they pay me, not
Mm-hmm.
I pay them. And sadly, that has been the behavior of the current executive, which has no insight into what persons are going through. Because you may know that the current president of the PSA no longer works in Wasa. He would have reached the age of 60. And whereas no one in our union can serve over 60, this gentleman caused to have the constitution of the PSA changed. Let me repeat. He caused to have the PSA's constitution, him and his executive, change the PSA constitution that he could remain beyond age 60. No one, absolutely no one in the entire public service, including Wasa, can do that. But why did he change the constitution so that he could stay on? Was it to serve the members? No, because the members are still crying out for poor representation. The members are still crying out because they remain on 2013 salaries. The members are still crying out because they were bypassed by their union, by management for a promotion or permanent appointment. And they cannot even go and complain to their union because their union was complicit in them being bypassed for an appointment and the promotion. That is how sad this situation really is, comrade.
Now, all Sanders, it has some questions I want to ask you. I've seen some questions coming up on the live, but this one I want to get out of the way. I would have seen you down by a building in San Fernando, you say, doing a live. What this is all about? Why the PM? Yes, why?
Comrade, let me tell you how terrible this situation. This young lady that is placed to be the leader of Team Sacrosanct, she, truth be told, should have been the PSA president when Watson Duke would have left the PSA to go into the THA based on our constitution. The constitution says in the absence of the president, the first vice president is the person who is supposed to control the organization and act as president. But what did she do? She did not take up the mantle when Watson Duke left, nor did any of her colleagues, whether it is Avinash, whether it's Kellon, none of them were brave and bold enough to stand up to the person that they allowed, who did not face the polls in the year 2020 alongside them, to face the electorate, the rank and file members. They did not allow the constitution to prevail. They allowed someone who was not elected by the rank and file members to come into the PSC. So fast forward into your question.
No, wait. Because what you're saying, the democracy in the very union was compromised. That was a breach of the whole constitution, everything. If the members is not given a chance to elect somebody, so then the appointment of the person there, which is Leroy Batista, matter of fact, that was against the constitution then.
It was, comrade. It was, and let me just go into it even a little bit deeper so you understand exactly why I am saying that. Our constitution only allows persons who are sitting in a position. So in Watson Duke's case, he was the president of the PSA. What Watson did, and they used the same virtual platform, which is really a joke. While being the president of the PSA, he caused to have a conference, which is the highest decision-making body in the PSA. That conference appointed a president-elect, meaning to say that we had a sitting president in the post and appointed and elected another president. So in other words, we would have had two presidents, a president and a president-elect. So Watson said, upon my leaving of PSA, this person will now lead. That is not what the PSA constitution says. The PSA constitution says the person must vacate the office, and within 3 months of vacating the office, an appointment can be made, or we can go to the polls. That was not done by this lady who wants to be the president of the PSA, who should have been the president back then. She did not take up the mantle. So the question is, did she, I'm just asking, did she and Leroy Batiste cook up a plan that they would have stepped aside to allow him to be the president? And when he was ready to step out of the PSA and go into maybe national politics, I do not know. I'm just asking, it could be national politics. She will now be able to face the polls. Was that what took place? The bottom line is, it was a travesty of justice. And in order for us to rectify that, it would have required me to go to the court, which I was not prepared to do. I did not have the resources to do it. But not only that, my experience with the court is that you have no control over the time period once you put your matter in the court. So if it is I did go forward to challenge that matter, all know we still would not have had an election for tomorrow, please God, because the matter would have been tied up and the status quo would have remained. So therefore, we only spoke out on the matter to edify members, to let them understand that that travesty that took place was unconstitutional, and that Ms. Felisha Thomas, alongside her colleagues who allowed that to happen, that was a very sad day in the democracy of the PSA. That is my honest and humble assessment of what would have transpired. But getting back to San Fernando and the video, that lady, who is the first vice president, saw in the General Council over $3 million being allocated to purchase, to build a property in San Fernando and Tobago, because there was a fire that burned down the PSA's south office. There is a lovely piece of land down there right next to the San Fernando General Hospital, to the back. It's called Paradise Pasture, in the back of the Naparima Bowl, next to Naparima College. A very valuable piece of property. $3 million was passed by this executive. And come out, based on that video, no one who has a reasonable insight in the cost of building anything could tell you they are satisfied that what they saw there in that video was worth $3 million of PSA hard-earned poor people, working people money. And worse than that, comrade, while that travesty exists down in San Fernando, you would be amazed to know that, you know, the PSA is still renting a San Fernando office at tremendous expense. So apart from putting out the $3 million to get a building, we still renting. Tell me, how could that make sense? How that matching? And these are the people who want to lead the PSA from 2025 onwards for the next 4 years.
No, that building, you said $3 million. Now the people in live asking to see the building. I just can't play the video now.
Listen, tell the persons on the live, please visit the United Public Officers Facebook page right now as soon as I come off this program, and you will see the video that I would have made. It's not long, it's just about a minute and something. Go and take a look at that video, see for yourself. Don't just take Oral Saunders' voice, don't take my word for it. Look at the amount of bush. Look at the gate that is chained down. Nobody has access. You can't even drive to the building. You would have seen it. It's like a dirt track. You can't even send a vehicle down there. You have to go there with probably a tractor or some backhoe to reach the building. It might have snake and scorpion and all kind of thing. Maybe Dwayne and all must be living inside of that building. Whatever it is. And you know what's the sad thing? It is not even made of concrete. That is the sad thing.
Right. So
what is that building in the back there?
We pull up the video here so they're seeing what you're talking about in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the building, that little blue thing that in the corner, the nice fence wrong, nice, and $3 million spent for that. $3 million.
I am simply asking all PSA members, hard-working PSA members who are stuck on 2013 salaries, are you satisfied as a member that your hard-earned money, $3 million of your hard-earned money, all of us put together, we would have built that building? Are you satisfied with that building? Are you getting access to that building? And not only that, but while that is there, we are still renting on Prince Albert Street in San Fernando. Tell me, isn't that something worth investigating? Why Ms. Felisha Thomas doesn't talk about that? She never mentioned a word about that. She has never mentioned a word of how it is she allowed someone who did not face the polls like herself and a few others to bypass them and become the president of the PSA. What kind of arrangement took place? Those are the questions you all need to ask the young lady. Now, I have nothing personally against this person. I am simply stating the facts. And I am simply saying that based on what this person would have done since being in office, she, in her own self, should not have offered herself as a candidate to be president. But we know the entrapments of power. We know the lifestyle that some people live. They cannot walk away from it. And therefore, it is incumbent on all public officers. If there's nothing else that gets you angry and gets you motivated to vote tomorrow, is looking at that said building that $3 million was allocated to rebuild. But not only in San Fernando, comrade. Our comrades in Tobago are also suffering because we have a lovely property on Pigot Street. Comrade, I wish I could have taken you there. Once it is I win the election, I'm inviting you to come and meet me. I'm going to carry you there. I will pay your expenses. And I want you to go live. I want to show Trinidad and Tobago and the PSA members the beautiful property that the PSA owns up there. And they never built a building that was befitting our comrades in Tobago. Which brings me to the point that we are the only team that has placed a presidential candidate from Tobago on the slate. So we have Comrade Ellis Clark, who is going to be the second vice president of the PSA. No other team saw it fit to treat Tobago with that level of respect. We, the United Public Officers, we have done so, comrade.
Now, I want to go into a little PSA bacchanal with you. Now, people is concerned, yeah, more bacchanal. So people was stating at that time Watson Duke would have resigned and he come back as president. He would have take all the money, gratuity, he change his mind and he come back. What about this whole situation that people are saying that was so unconstitutional with that fact?
Well, comrade, without speaking specifically about the matter, and the reason why I wouldn't speak specifically about the matter is because a report is already before the fraud squad. I would have gone with a few comrades and we would have made an official report to the fraud squad regarding that situation. But what I can say in general terms is that no one who is going to leave an organization is paid before leaving the organization. You are only paid upon your departure from the organization, whatever is owed or entitled to you. And when you reach the age of to be able to collect a pension, then you can access such. Any organization that pays persons monies that they are not entitled to, the question is, who were the persons involved in a payment of that kind? Because certainly, individual who may have received that payment could not have done so on his or her own. It had to be in collaboration with others. So therefore, based on the Pensions Act, we would have found it fitting to lay an official report to the fraud squad. So we await the outcome of such investigations. But as an activist of the PSA, you see I have on my red, white, and black. That is my flag. Our national flag is on our uniform. You see the star? The star is our symbol of our team. We would have done what is required of persons who are serious about accountability. We would have done what serious persons who hold dearly representation as their core. We would have done what was legally required and morally required of us to do, comrade.
Now, Mr. Saunders, without going further, you see, this issue, I know you would have asked, because we watch a lot of live, we maintain a lot of stream on online. So, the issue with Jennifer Frederick, and I see something in the comments here, all standard, that is Jennifer Frederick body. What this whole connection that the same Jennifer Frederick, because on one side of the fence, there are certain set of people that saying that Jennifer Frederick is somebody that racial. I don't know. I can't confirm. I could only see what the video say. I would have spoken to her personally, and she would have said, "Boy, you know, it would have been taken out of context." But that yet to be described. What is this relationship with you and Jennifer Frederick? Because she's a strong PNM activist. Is it that just how Leroy Butties take a side on his political choice and make it public? Is it that you are going to be or intend to be aligned with the PNM government because of this whole connection scenario here? I had also asked that question, comrade.
Thank you, comrade. Let me tell you something. I commend you, you should be on mainstream media because you have definitely done your homework. And I respect your position and the job that you are doing. You are asking hard questions, and that is the reason why I am here tonight, comrade, representing 12 other persons of the United Public Officers. We are not able to confront anyone. But the short answer to your question, and I want to speak this as pellucidly as I can. That lady to whom you have referred to is not a member. Let me repeat. That lady is not a member nor a supporter of the United Public Officers team. Our information is she is aligned to another team called PUS. Well, that's the acronym. PSA United Sentinel. We call them PUS.
Right.
She is linked to them. No way is that person a part of or a supporter of the United Public Officers team. Comrade, if it is, you take a look, and I am asking comrades to visit my United Public Officers Facebook page. If you look at our team is the most diverse. Our team is the most diverse team in this entire PSA election. And the reason why I went at great lengths to ensure that the team was the most diverse team is because it is what I stand for. It is my own personal credo. My wife is of East Indian descent, comrade. We have a beautiful family. I have a lovely son that is of mixed descent. I have two stepdaughters who are of East Indian descent. I have a wonderful mother-in-law who today is her birthday. Happy birthday, mother-in-law, Sita Mohammed of Fairfield in Princeton, Fairfield Road in Princeton. I am actually here at her home. And we have the most diverse team. You will see Muslims, you will see Hindus, you will see Catholics, you will see full gospel, Christians, and you will even see Rastafari on my team. We are the United Public Officers. We represent the demographics of Trinidad and Tobago. So I do not only talk about united, I practice united and unity in my home, and we are practicing it in our team, the United Public Officers.
Well, I put it here with your whole slate on top there. This is your team here, Oral Sanders, and well, I actually seen the whole cast here with Muslims, Africans, Indo-Trinidadians, the whole team. So what you are saying?
Even Rastafari too. Yeah.
So what you are saying then? From this team that you are positive that you could take the union forward and out of this kind of crisis that it had.
Correct. What I have done, comrade, or I should say, what we have done, because I could never have reached this far without this team. This team is a unique group of persons. As I shared with you, we have our first vice president, East Indian sister. She's from the Public Health Department, Comrade Sister Majida Mohammed. My second vice president is Comrade Ellis Clark. He's coming from Tobago. I have Comrade Sister Bishram as my general secretary. I have Comrade Akil Nanku, a Spanish mix kind of guy. He's going to be the deputy general secretary. I have Comrade Johnny Bihari, a Rastafarian. I have Comrade Ainsley Williams, another brother from up in the east. I have Comrade Danish Maraj, a southerner from the Hindu community, a very powerful man. In fact, I also have Comrade Sister Corel. And this is the kind of persons that we have, the caliber of persons. I have other comrades, Comrades Naris, Comrade Denny, Comrade Sister Olive, and even Comrade Naris as well. So we have a lot of persons on the team who, as I said, are very diverse from all parts of public service, from all parts of Trinidad and Tobago, from all the ministries. We have stated, so we have persons from the civil service, we have persons from the statutory authorities, we have persons from the Tobago, representing Tobago. So we have taken into consideration the actual demographics of the Public Services Association, and we placed together a team to actually look like them, be from them, and work for them. Our mantra is the United Public Officers, we will make PSA work again.
Now, stating what you just said, now, this is one of the questions that many unionists and people is concerned about. What is your history in trade union work? How you could say that you would have represented people from in the past and this is what you intend to do going forward, and you're not just going there to sit down for a salary just like all the rest of them from your predecessors and them. What make you different from this?
Well, comrade, you may recall that I would have told you, unlike any other candidate in this election, I am the only candidate, the presidential candidate, that actually worked from the ground to the top in this union. Meaning to say, I would have served in the trenches. I mean, comrade, let's think about it. If it is someone was a member of the United National Congress or even the People's National Movement, could that person just wake up tomorrow morning and want to be prime minister or political leader without serving in the trenches? And this is the difference between myself. I would have worked from the ground up. As I said, I was the chairman of my St. Anne's Hospital section. I would have received several awards throughout the years. And let me even go far to tell you how powerful my representation would have been. Every single member of the nursing fraternity in Trinidad and Tobago, whether they know Oral Saunders or they have heard of Oral Saunders, have benefited from my activism in the PSA, because I was extremely instrumental working alongside the then president, Jennifer Baptiste Primus, to get a 25%, let me repeat that, a 25% nursing incentive allowance added to every single nurse in Trinidad and Tobago. And comrade, you know how long that has been going on? For the past 25 years. Every time they go and collect the salary, they would have benefited from the PSA's intervention, from my activism with the executive. We would have gotten several allowances, the psychiatric allowance, hosiery allowance. So I am talking about representation that puts money in the pockets of public officers. But not only have I been able to put money in the pockets of public officers, I was responsible for the Penal David Corporation workers moving out from their old building where they were in cramped conditions down in Penal into that brand new spanking building that they have along the SS Erin Road. I was instrumental because we would have led a protest for months underneath a tent, standing up and fighting for them to get the necessary resources and support of the powers that be to get their building. I, Orally Saunders, was responsible for that. But it is not about boasting about myself. It is simply to show that service and representation is what trade unionism is really about. It is about building solidarity. So, for example, comrade, what takes place now in the PSA where no one knows one another because we cannot meet in person and we are only meeting virtually? Members aren't even aware of who is from where. We don't have a children's Christmas party. We have absolutely no educational programs. The PSA has never given any bursary since 2008. There has been no sports and family day activities. There have been absolutely nothing that builds camaraderie and solidarity. Hence the reason why this current executive, every time they would have gone out there to march, despite the PSA representing over 40 to 80,000 persons. They cannot even muster 250 persons. That is exactly the fallout from what they have failed to do as the executive, which is to build solidarity, represent workers, and to make persons actually be proud to be members of the PSA instead of standing up with us as members, instead of representing us as members. What they have done is to pursue their own personal, partisan, political agenda at the expense of the entire PSA and membership.
Now, I tell you some uppercut here, Oral Sanders, because I have to put it on here now. Now, the mere fact that we know about tripartism, I mean, it has always tapped my tongue. Tripartism, that there is a separation of powers. I mean, can you explain to the general public, because people need to hear this, how dangerous it is for any union to be politically aligned? That must be explained explicitly to the listening public.
Thank you so much. And comrade, let me thank you again. As I said, comrade, you're on point. You're on point. You're shooting like a real sharpshooter tonight. Let me tell you something, comrade. The Public Services Association is what we call a public sector union, which means we are extremely different to the OWTU. We are not like them at all. In fact, comrade, the Public Services Association is in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. We were placed there as a management tool to work with whichever government is the choice of the electorate to deal with issues to avoid shutdowns and protests. That is really the constitution of the PSA. Now, persons think that the PSA should follow the rest of these unions and go political. Comrade, this is why I commend the executive of Tutor and the Police Association, Prisons Fire, these other public sector comrade unions who have remained apolitical. Apolitical is just a big word to say they do not belong to any political side. Because the bottom line is no union, as you rightfully said, comrade, should be in the back pocket of any government, whether it is yellow, whether it is red. And let me show you into greater detail how divisive and how foolish and how ill-advised this behavior is. Any union, like a public sector union, for example, the PSA, that decides to get into a political relationship with a partisan political entity, immediately ostracizes persons in that organization who are opposed to that union. So let's say, for example, if it is the PSA is in bed, not the PSA, but the leadership of the PSA is in bed with the PNM, the persons who are followers of the United National Congress will withhold their solidarity and support with the administration, and vice versa. So really and truly, pursuing that partisan political agenda, what it does is actually weaken the organization. Persons leave in frustration, in disgust, because they know they did not sign up for that. If it is they want to join a political party, they will simply join the UNC or the PNM. But not only does PSA represent persons from the two major political parties, we even represent persons from the NTA, the PDP, all the other unions, and we even have persons who have chosen none of the above, meaning to say they are not supporting anything political. We, as the PSA, we represent all those persons. So in order to make our members feel at home, to feel empowered, to know that the president is not in the back pocket of any political entity and he is focusing strictly on representation, what we are supposed to do as a union is to remain apolitical so that we can have all of our members who are suffering from adverse working conditions, whether it is a OSH issue, whether it is they are not being paid at the correct incremental point, if it is they haven't gotten their job evaluation, If it is, as for example, the group health plan where persons are taking in excess of 2 years to get their checks, the PSA is supposed to represent all of our members without any preferential treatment or bias against any group of our members, because they pay the salaries of the executive. They are the ones who pay the salary of the PSA staff. They are the ones who are really the owners of the PSA. And that is why the United Public Officers team, our mission is to return the ownership of the PSA back to its rightful owners, which is our membership.
Well, I mean, just now before I go on, so many of you that are watching us now, I know I was calling, I see the phone ringing. We are going to open up the lines if you want to ask any question concerning what would have just been discussed. Call the numbers on the screen 333-2176 and call us in here live, because there are many of you. I know we missed your call. We apologize for that. I apologize, but the conversation was so heated. Or you can call WhatsApp, or you can call a normal phone 333-2176. So Mr. Saunders, what value can the people hope to expect if elected tomorrow, the 10th? As a matter of fact, tomorrow is my birthday. Tomorrow, the 10th of March, is my birthday.
So what? We're giving you an early gift. We're giving you a free gift tomorrow, comrade.
So
yes, comrade. So some of the things you could definitely look forward to, comrade, as I would have said, immediately within 7 days of winning the PSA's election, we will hold that referendum, giving the members the opportunity to vote for themselves on the direction the union goes in, because having this matter tied up in court is leaving us in a sense of limbo. So we need to find out if this is the direction they want us to go in, or they want us to settle. It is up to them. We are also going to ensure that we make the PSA recommit to educating our representatives, because as I said to you previously, since 2008, no one from the PSA has gone on scholarship to Cipriani Labour College to further their studies in industrial relations. Years ago, prior to this administration, we used to have a quarterly educational program for every new member of the PSA, where we would have invited them to the head office. Yes, they would have been invited, and they would have been able to, study industrial relations. We would have had the 5 days program, then we would have graduated to the 10 weeks program, then the associate degree in Cipriani Labour College.
We have a call on the line.
Oh, sure. Let me take the call.
Caller, good night. Hello?
I wish you happy birthday in advance, boy. They KFC, boy.
Hey, KFC, thanks, boy.
And I take in the program. Just keep up the fight, and I look to and listen.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Nice.
Enjoy it.
Yes. So we are going to re-establish our links with Public Services International, which was an international body that used to do exchange programs with the PSA and do significant training. In other words, our members were able to go to Geneva and Switzerland and Canada, and they would have sent members to Trinidad to train persons. So we all would have benefited from all the new advances in HR and IR, so that we would have been more effective representatives. The job evaluation exercise, we are going to deal with the job reclassification that so many members, which is to me even more important than a 4% offer. The reclassification and job evaluation exercise, which will be given to workers, is a priority. We are going to use that as a priority issue. We are going to ensure that we reestablish the youth arm, the male caucus, the women's arm, so that the PSA will now start back to speak out on national issues. The single parents, in terms of fatherhood, and in terms of women, in terms of sexual abuse, all these issues that affect nationally, our sections will be in place now to represent persons. We are going to ensure that we have a PSA representative in every single government office. That is a Herculean task in itself. We are committed to that. We are going to reestablish a new representation module where persons will be in regions. You see, where the schools are concerned, all our comrades in the Ministry of Education who are attached to schools. You all look forward to Comrade Saunders coming forward and giving you all the attention and representation that you all deserve. Too many times I have sit back and seen tutor on the television speaking about their teachers and they are not doing this or they have a health and safety issue. No one speaks on behalf of the public officers who are attached to those schools. The United Public Officers team led by Comrade Saunders, we will address those issues. Those workers who are at NIB, who have a current 9% offer before them, we are coming to stand solidly with you all and fight to the very bitter end. I have stated publicly that we are prepared to go to the Privy Council to get redress for you all on your salary negotiations. We believe we will settle it because we are not politically aligned like the current executive. I think we have a caller.
No, we never call it. No.
Oh, sorry. I thought we had a caller. Sorry. So these are just some of the innovative and structured systems that we are going to reestablish. That the aim, comrade, is to rebuild the PSA. There used to be a PSA office in Arima. There is no more. There used to be a PSA office in Shogunas. There is no more. We are going to rebuild our comrade so that will be able to see effective representation, feel effective representation, and others who aren't members are going to want to return because we are going to go on an aggressive recruitment exercise. One of the most important things we are going to also do, comrade, is march our members back into their building. That is their building on Abercrombie Street. But talking about buildings, comrade, do you know that that housing scheme across the road from the Long Circular Mall, that belongs to the PSA membership? All those fancy buildings across the road there, members have not heard a word from this current executive regarding the status of that property which belongs to the PSA members. We are going to get answers for you. We are going to give you back the control that a union ought to have in its members. That is the type of representation that we are going to provide upon winning the election tomorrow, please God.
Wait, so that piece of information and now divulge Oral Sanders, you ain't frightened by it? Because you talking about buildings that are obviously for people to own these buildings there and nothing is said about it. These people are powers. This ain't frightening, you're talking about that?
Comrade, let me tell you something. We fear no one. We fear no man. We have our faith and confidence in Almighty God. And that is the reason why we chose this symbol of the star. The star represents light. We recognize that the PSA is currently in a dark place. Members feel lost because that is how it used to be years ago in days of old before it had electricity. Men used to plan their journey by night. They used to look at the stars and know which way is north, which way is south, which way is east, which way is west. They used to plan their journey through the night so that in the morning they could take off and move. That is what we are bringing. That is why we chose this star. We are the only team that has chosen a natural symbol of light because our intention is to place light on dark and hidden agendas. We will expose what needs to expose, but we will be most accountable to the membership because they are the owners of the PSA, not the president Oral Saunders, not the executive, but the membership are the owners of the union.
Now, I coming back to ATLL grilling here again, concerning these courses and things that people expected to get, and is things like that taking place currently? And if it's not taking place currently, so why it not taking place?
Comrade, the last time that the PSA sent any of their representatives to train in industrial relations at the Cipriani Labor College, a college that was developed by us, for us as trade unionists, was in the year 2008. Let me repeat, the year 2008. That was the last time we had a structured system. We had that relationship where we used to send our representatives that were elected to train deeper and build their intellectual capacity in terms of industrial relations. Comrades, we would have been losing matters at the courts repeatedly at the industrial court because of poor representation. Persons do not know what they are doing, and they are making a fool and a mockery of the membership. Those are the things we want to bring a stop to. Those are the things we are going to bring a stop to, and we are going to make sure that we bring on the best persons. We're going to bring back a new education and research officer for the PSA, someone who would have been extremely knowledgeable in terms of the experience in the PSA, experience at the court, persons with formal knowledge. We are going to bring persons who are very much educated in IR, specialists, in fact, to guide our representatives and to guide our executive, to guide the PSA forward, because we recognize we do not have all the answers. I am not coming here tonight, comrades, to pretend that I have all the answers. I do not have all the answers. I have a mission in terms of rebuilding the organization. But with that being said, comrade, I am relying on the brighter minds, the persons who have even more knowledge than myself. I am depending on them because they may not have been as brave as I was to come up, to put yourself out there, to put your family, to put your history on the national burner for people to scrutinize it, to look at your marriage, to look at your family. Persons aren't prepared to offer themselves for public service. But you know what? They are prepared to assist in rebuilding the PSA. Comrade, you wouldn't believe the hundreds, if not thousands of persons who have said to my team, if and when you guys are elected, I will come back to the PSA. As of today, I am not prepared to waste $1,200 a year on those persons who continue to waste my money and do what they want to do, having a frolic of their own. I am withholding that money until you, Saunders, get in there. You, Danish Maraj, you, Ellis, you, Corel, that is what they have been saying to us. When we get into office, they will come back to the PSA.
Now, just to quantify all what you said, what you would have said in the first instance is that you are not politically aligned to no party. You may have your political choice, that's your constitutional right. But you're not politically aligned. You would have made a complete separation between you and Jennifer Frederick. And what you would have said consistently with Felisha Thomas, she should have been the president, which is concerning. Yes. And just the mere fact that she would have stepped aside, these only Trinidadians, we are only asking the question, what deal, what arrangement, what would have been talking a back door in a room somewhere down underneath the elevator, somewhere concerning what would have taken place with her. She looked nice. She looked like a nice, beautiful woman, but let beauty and thing change the way how you vote. Because the video that was sent to me, when I would have seen this, comrade, I made it my business that the rest of the public must hear the truth, at least from the man himself, because she come big and bold and said, and some of the things that she would have said would have sparked fear into the minds of the people. And some of them say that they know you personally. Some of them say, well, they know that. So there was a need to get this information outside here tonight. And
Comrade, let me tell you something. Comrade, let me tell you something. You preach there, you ain't talking, you preach. Because I'll tell you something, comrade. This is the first time that I can recall with distinct clarity that there was ever a sitting executive that was approaching an election who did not have a list of successes to speak to the membership about. In other words, they have had no achievements. The only thing that lady has been saying with her team out there is oral is the 4% man and how to vote in the national elections. They would have made their entire campaign, even the other PUS side, the PUS, they have spoken about Oral Saunders and the United Public Officers for 3 months. while we have focused on speaking to the members and listening to them and showing them how we are going to work for them, how we are going to turn around this union, and how we all are going to benefit from effective representation, from being educated representatives, and for us being in full control and political.
Well, ladies and
what we
yes, Mr. Saunders. I know you was getting a call on your side. We just see it in the microphone. Go ahead.
Okay, my phone is ringing off the hook. My phone ringing. They're not realizing that I'm on your program live. I'll have to call everybody back after.
So you have an open door policy then?
Of course, comrade. Comrade, let me tell you something. Under Oral Saunders regime in the PSA, you all are going to be mesmerized. Even persons who are not members, you all will want to come to the PSA. And you know what? I am going to make sure that there is a facility available. For example, our retired public officers. I am talking about also with the revitalizing of the youth arm. The aim now is for the youth arm to take on in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, problematic students who we see in all those viral videos and they're fighting and it's bacchanal and it's confusion. My challenge to my youth arm will be find a mechanism for us to mentor these troubled youths so that we could try to turn their lives around. We are going to try to put a mechanism in place where we can have a homework center at no cost to PSA members and let them bring their children on an evening. We are going to find teachers because we know we have competent and educated persons within the ranks of the PSA who are only too willing to be coming there to help young persons to achieve the best that they can, whether it is SCA, whether it's C, whatever it is, in terms of C-sex, wherever they need, the need arises, we are going to provide that opportunity. Comrade, the aim is to make trade unionism attractive again, because we recognize that the current batch of trade unionists now, they have left a bitter taste in the mouths of most of the public in this Trinidad and Tobago. Persons have decided that they do not want to be involved in politics. Persons have decided that trade unionism is no different from politics. It's just that it's so convoluted. The lines have become so blurred. You don't know whether it's a union or whether you're in a political party. You don't know. And those are the things we are coming on board to join with Tutor and the other strong unions that have said no to partisan politics. We being one of the biggest and most powerful unions in Trinidad, we intend to take back our rightful post and position in this society by being the biggest, boldest, most educated and toughest union in Trinidad and Tobago. That is our agenda.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you hear that for yourself. And that is the reason why we would have taken the time to bring this information to you, because the many things that you are hearing outside here is blurred. We know how social media is. We know how news is. I mean, they push a particular agenda. And oral, I don't know if you didn't know, I mean, we would have opened a union too. And I mean, it's like if I'm seeing a goal to aspire to.
Right. Yeah.
It's as if I seen somebody that, you know, I could aspire to become, a matter of fact. And that is the reason why, you know, because I believe in my heart, I mean, I may be wrong. I mean, you appear to be a good person. You appear to be somebody that have the interests of the union at heart. Not just propaganda and rhetoric. Not just this thing we bring you out and we lay your march on a savannah and tomorrow you go home and you don't go back to your same problems. The same way another face children, you would have talk about the homework and that put the nail on the coffin. Because children outside here, the fighting, and we asking ourselves, why is only in a particular school? Why is only a particular race of people?
Correct.
What can we do about it? I mean, I know that this is not solely the union responsibility, you know, but collectively as a society, I mean, we could start from one step. The journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step. And I ain't gonna lie, I mean, from where you say, I believe in what you say. The only thing that I'm asking is that you're not betray the trust of the people.
Why I told you, comrade. We are the only team that has the national flag on our jerseys, you know, on our team jerseys, you know. Trinidad, we love our country. If Trinidad moves forward, we all benefit. And that is what we're trying to let people understand. The trade union has a very important role to speak on behalf of the voiceless. Too long, the trade union's role has only been involved in politics. We want to talk about national issues. And where we can assist, comrade, we are definitely going to assist. And you will be proud of us. And I want you to know, comrade, that my doors will always be open as the president once elected, and that anything you see that you are dissatisfied with, make it your business to come and find me, because you must, because I am not saying I am perfect, I am repeating, I am not a perfect being, but we are in pursuit of perfect representation. That is what we are in pursuit of. We are not perfect beings, but we are in pursuit of representation. And we may stumble, we may fall, but you could rest assured that our focus is on our membership and benefits for them going forward. Thank you so much for being a part of your powerful program tonight, comrade. It has been a pleasure. Tomorrow, comrades, Monday the 10th, on my brother's birthday, make this dream be a reality. Come out in your numbers, public officers, and vote for Comrade Oral Saunders and the United Public Officers team. You have between 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to vote. You are voting 13 times, 13 X's. From the time you see Oral Saunders, all the names going straight down, 13 times that you see under my name, you are voting for all of them. The star, remember the star, because you too are a star.
Well, Oral Saunders, thanks for coming on such short notice. And you know, as I say, I really believe in you. You give me a mandate, I come in and kick down your door. I tell you the truth.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct.
I go be the first man outside.
Yes, you'll be welcome.
Well, thank you for joining us, Oral Saunders, and what you have to say in your closing comment.
Well, I would just like to say this has been a dream. This has been a dream to rebuild this PSA, to make it in a place that everyone feels welcome. It is a Herculean task. I am not saying it's going to be easy. And I am repeating, I am not the person who has all the ideas, all the information. I am simply saying that the president is supposed to be the chief servant for the people. I will work to turn around this union with my executive. But we cannot achieve any of these plans without your support, without your vote. Tomorrow, make your vote count and vote for United Public Officers led by Comrade Oral Saunders. So that way, you will be heard, your views will be taken into consideration, and you will receive the best gift, which is your union, the ownership of your union. It's coming back to you, comrades. Your union is coming back to you with your support. This is Comrade Oral Saunders of the United Public Officers. Let's make PSA work again.
Well, thank you, brother. Thanks for joining us here tonight.
You're welcome.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what you would have heard just a while back is a complete interview on the inside of the man. And because for such short notice, you know, we applaud the Oral Saunders for reaching out. Many people afraid to come on this platform We all see other people from all different, we call them the afraid. We have to meet them on the doorstep. So here you have it, all the fears were allayed. There is no political ties, and although many of us supporters of anyone of the party go glad to see our union leaders align with a political party, that is dangerous. There is something that must be respected called the separation of powers. That is what George Weeks would have fought for. That is what Uriah Butler would have fought for. And that is what we must protect in this trade union movement, where the alignment of trade union and government is coming together, whether we like a political party or not. That is the most dangerous thing that could ever happen anywhere in the world. It is supposed to be a relationship, but not a connection. Understand what I say? Not a connection. You and you might have a child with a particular woman. Nobody don't say alien the child. Nobody is saying that. The connection is there. We're supposed to have a connection. Not this link that you are seeing. It is very dangerous for people within the trade union movement. It is very dangerous concerning where transparency is concerned. And we ought to be concerned in a particular way. This ought not to happen. Our predecessors, as I would have said, would have fought, and some would have given their life. We talk about Charlie King Junction, right there in Faizabad, where we could also say it was the birthplace of the trade union movement, when government would have sent a police and they would have attempted to lock up Uriah Butler. And but you know what Butler say? Hey, the locking him up, what are you going to do about it? People of Trinidad and Tobago and the general public, the many of you that are listening to the sound of my voice here tonight, we must make a cognizant decision, an important decision, as to align our future with people that care. And when we see connection on this level, we ought to be concerned about it. That is a serious thing. So when we would have played many videos, or you know, we connected all through social media, all about the place. This is not about personality. This is not about party. This is not about who like who. But we must start from somewhere. And I, Renison Jeffrey, see this dream and believe in this dream. So without keeping it here further, to you, the general public, there was some clips that we was going to play on screen. Now we would have played this first clip in which the video was centered around. Let me go into that clip. First clip.
Do you know that PSA United Sentinel and United Public Officers have supported the government's position to keep workers in poverty by advocating the acceptance of the 4% wage increase offer? Do you know that the PSA United Sentinel and the United Public Officers want to get rid of Wasa, Board of Inland Revenue, and Customs and Excise workers? Nixon Kalinda and Aura Sanders are disqualified from being considered as trade unionists. They have shown that their focus is to undermine workers. Their agendas are not for the PSA nor for workers. Workers have a right to strong representation. Team Sacrosanct is committed to protecting and preserving the sacred rights of workers. You deserve job security, fair treatment, a decent wage, a safe and healthy work environment. On March 10th, vote Felisha Thomas and Team Sacrosanct.
At the end of the day, to you, the members of the public, not everything you see or you hear should be things that you should believe. As with the placement of that first clip, that is why we would have said in our response to the thumbnail that we would have generated, regardless of how pretty, how nice, how beautiful the young lady is, in direct contrast to what has been said by Oral Saunders, we could say in our analysis that that entire clip was a lie. And to you, the members of the public, when you're vying for position, or when people is putting up themselves and putting smoke screen to hide who they really are, you find things like this existing. Now, many of you would have reached out to me and said, Jeffrey, something needs to be done about it. Now, you outside there heard the truth. I hope you understand. And the many of you that are going to vote tomorrow, or you go and arm yourself with this knowledge here tonight. So that many of you that have friends, have family that is in the PSA union, inform them, send the show to them. Because at the end of the day, there is no, I mean, you can't do the right thing by doing the wrong thing. And one thing I stand firm on, that there is separation of powers. There are the tripartism. There is business, government, and trade union. Trade union have been reached a place that they would have lost their power because many of them is so sick and the eyes locking to money. And many of these trade unions, the cash flow that run through these trade unions is in the millions. And what are they doing in terms of where their members is concerned? My God. So the many of you that are outside there that are listening to what is taking place and grasp this whole thing. In closing, a matter of fact, let me play this video in closing. We all must fight for one another. We all must stand up for one another. Because when the time comes, there will be no one to fight for us. So we must stand and fight for one another. A next video that would have been of great concern.
Public service announcement to all PSA members. On Monday, the 10th of March 2025 is election. Time for us to vote out Mr. Leroy Baptiste. For 10 years, Leroy Baptiste has been sitting in office and has not done anything really for the members who are paying their union dues. We have been to his office. We have called him out. We have asked him for a sit down, and he has never had that meeting with us. Time for us to get somebody with integrity, somebody who is willing to fight for us, somebody who will leave what they are doing to come to our rescue, and that person is Mr. Oral Sanders of the United Public Officers. If you go on to the United Public Officers, you will see the members who will be our new PSA members. But we have to vote. If we don't vote, we will not have the right to be heard at no point. And the terrible conditions that we are working under, we will continue to work under it because of the liars and the deception of the people who was running from before. It has too many people who was in their feelings and wasn't willing to stand for workers because they don't like them or because they had a falling out for them. Time for us to get rid of these childish members, and time for us to get members with integrity who, regardless to friendship, to likes, to religion, to skin color, they are ready to fight for us. And those people, I will say, is Mr. Oral Sanders. Why? Because I was once in a predicament, and Mr. Oral Sanders and Miss Gail is who stand for me. And if it wasn't for these two people, Mr. Oral Sanders leaving his job that morning to come down to my workplace, I would have still been victimized, I would have still been sick, or I would have been dead today. Last year, I was in a situation with victimization and unfairness in our workplace, where a worker threatened my life and my family, and she was able to stay in the workplace, and I was the one who was sent to a far area to work. That worker is still working in that area, and I am still in Arima. Reason being, if I didn't put down my foot, I would have been all over like boiled corn, right? That worker threatened my life, and they said that they would investigate the situation, and they did not. They sent me to Arima to break me, and unfortunately, I was unbreakable. Then they decided to give me a whole week to work, 6 to whatever time, and because of that, and I was taking care of my mother and my mother-in-law at the time, I ended up getting sick, fatigue. And a morning, I was going to work on the highway, and I ended up getting into an accident, which almost cost me my life. Praise God, I am still here. Praise God, my vehicle did not damage. And when that accident happened, and I sent the medical to my supervisor, she decided to ask me for a police report of the accident, which was wrong. And because of me going to Oral Sanders and Miss Gail, they were the two people that stood for me. And they came and they read out my rights, and they spoke to my superior. And because of that, I am where I am right now, right? And I am telling you all, PSA members, the only person who is going to fight for us for a 4% for the raise of more money is Mr. Oral Sanders, because he's a man of integrity. He is a man of the right order. He's not going to tell us one thing and do not do it. I know a lot of you all have heard when he said that we are taking the 4%, and then he said that in the election, he's going to have an election, right, to vote to see who won the 4% and who does not won the 4%. And I am telling you all, it's only fair. Every single one of us are paying our union dues, and every single one of us have a right to vote, to say what we want and what we don't want. And he has a right to give us that vote. I know a lot of you all are skeptical about it, but I am telling you all that everybody have a right, and he's only trying to be fair, right? We have been in a predicament for 10 years. We have been working under terrible conditions. We have been asking Mr. Leroy Batista and the members of the PSA to fight for our rights, and they haven't done anything more than promise us and sit down and clock our money every month. And it's about time that we stop it. It's about time that we stand for what is right. It's about time that we say no more. Enough is enough. Right? Change needs to happen. And the best change is the United Public Officers change. If you all are still willing for change, vote for the United Public Officers. If you all do not go out there and vote, we are going to hold a member who didn't even get the right to vote. He was placed there, right? Because of Mr. Watson Duke. And it's time that we, who pay our union dues, get that right and vote this man out and vote somebody that we have known for years.
Now, citizens of the Republic, for the sake of time, we can't go in and play every video. At the end of the day, let God be truth, let God be truth and everybody a liar. Do not let your emotions, do not let logic overpower you by sweet talk from individuals. The voice of the people is the voice of God. There are many people that would have speak out and said within their hearts that the gentleman there, Oral Sanders, is a man of integrity, is a man that will hear what the people are saying and is not afraid, because he would have talked certain talk that could get him in serious problems. At the end of the day, all union officials, all of you that within these various unions that we are talking about the PSA explicitly, your voices should be heard. And we would have seen the appointments of certain individuals, and there are people that will support these appointments, although it's wrong, because it benefits it within the interests of certain people. There are people that are doing stupidness in it, and then they go and they shove their head up and align themselves politically to try to draw strength from a political base, when the fight is supposed to be with the union and the people. Yes, be in solidarity with politics. You are in solidarity with that. But at the end of the day, to touch yourself to it will alienate other people within the union, and these things are facts. And we ought to be concerned concerning things like these. So tomorrow, on the 10th of March, don't let ignorance cloud your judgment. Don't let looks cloud your judgment. Vote. Yes. My mic a little too loud. Yes. Smiley, God, man. Yes. Mic low. Lowing down the mic. So at the end of the day, don't let these things cloud your judgment. Stand firm on logic. Stand firm on history, where you're seeing representation, and vote for that. My name is Felisha Thomas. This is the Workers' Rights Platform, and I am out.